And by the way, we've confirmed in San Antonio and in other cities from my reporters, but also echoed by our listeners, that people show up and Move On comes in, George Soros groups, SEIC, SEIU, all those different stupid unions, the service unions. They come in there and they create racial division. They bring it up. They inject it. Then they say, no Ron Paul. Matt Medina's confirmed it in San Antonio. They tell them, no Ron Paul signs. Darren McBreen, our reporter, has confirmed. His son was out at the Occupy Wall Street here in Austin yesterday. They said, do not bring your Ron Paul sign here. We're confirming this nationwide. They're telling people the Federal Reserve is good, leave it alone. The Federal Reserve is the inside crony anti-capitalist. They're called crony capitalists, but they're not capitalists. The crony monopoly mafia men that have taken over our country, bankrupted it, and that masquerade as a federal agency. Now, a few weeks ago, a week and a half ago, it was the top drudge link, biggest link you can get on the internet. And that's exciting as it exposed the early on attempt to co-opt Occupy Wall Street. We documented the Democratic-affiliated groups months ago called for an Occupy Wall Street movement coming up in October, just like the Soviet October Revolution. And they want collectivism, like Michael Moore, the guy worth hundreds of millions, says, get rid of capitalism. That means your private property. They want higher taxes, something the big banks want, because they end up getting most of it in bailout money. They want VAT and sales tax, what Herman Cain's promoting. In Europe, they're promoting expansions of that to pay off the derivatives debt we don't owe. So we're at this point now. Will the bankers be able to con people into going along with their next phase of tyranny? And that you now have Occupy Wall Street marching to the Koch brothers and five other, including Rupert Murdoch, Republican billionaires. So again, the message is Republicans are bad, money is bad, not corrupt groups with government getting taxpayer money. That's what's bankrupting us. The globalists are purposely destroying our sovereignty to bring in this world government. I mean, John Major has come out and warned England is about to, the UK is about to completely lose all its sovereignty. That's coming up with Lord Monckton in about 20 minutes from now. But I want to go to Adam-Kokesh joining us via video Skype, because we wrote an article about them coming up and saying, we want authoritarianism, we want the power of the state, we want to shut down freedom, basically. We're authoritarian. People say, well, that's out of context. Well, I'm getting that all over the country now. Okay? Now we've got a new video he shot. Occupy agitators attempt to ban First Amendment. Foul-mouthed collectivists don't want their creepy consensus meetings being filmed. Paul Joseph Watson at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And it's got in it the video that we can't play here like the other one. That's so foul-mouthed, so gibbering that we can't play it. But you can go watch it if you want. This is a family show. Plus, we're on AM and FM under FCC rules. But the gibbering person and others are saying you're not going to film our event. And so to break this down is Adam-Kokesh. So, boy, this sounds like Quartzsite, Arizona, where they try to ban free speech. I mean, this doesn't sound like the super democracy people, Adam.
Alex, hey, thank you so much for having me on and for getting to the heart of what's really at these occupation movements, because the core rallying cry is the 99% versus the 1%. And a lot of libertarians hear that, and a lot of people like you and me who have our worldview hear that and they go, yeah, that's right. There's that 1% that is super rich. And a lot of them are benefiting because of bailout, because of handouts, because of corporatism, because of the Federal Reserve System, because of what our government is doing. But there is a fundamental flaw here. And it's not just that this movement is being co-opted by liberal establishment leadership. It's more than that. This movement is fundamentally statist at its heart, because it is not saying, let's look at the moochers versus the producers, the people versus the exploiters. No, it's the successful versus the 99%. And now a lot of that 1%, like I said, is in that 1% only because of government action, because of government welfare to corporations, to the military-industrial complex, to the financial industry. But there are a lot of people who are at these demonstrations who are motivated by this rallying cry, and the primary kinds of people that are motivated by this rallying cry are the kinds of left statists. I don't like the left-right divide, but these are left statists. These are people who want to turn to the government for solutions to problems that were created by the government in the first place. And they are unwilling to admit that what they are talking about is just as bad as what we have today, that what they are asking for is for more force to be applied, for more government intervention.
Well, Adam, it's actually worse. And of course, the left-right exist in the false paradigm. So, of course, you have to address them as leftist, hardcore authoritarians. They're calling for the equivalent of the October Revolution in 1917. There's lots of beheading talk, lots of authoritarianism, lots of wealth confiscation talk, and lots of establishment talking points, free education, free health care, blah, 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 that you can only get through total degradation, total slavery, trading out Federal Reserve commissars for the new commissars and the new apparatchik. But on top of it, we've got George Soros. We've got Warren Buffett, all wanting new banker bailout money, all wanting new VAT sales taxes. Herman Cain on the fake controlled right, calling for a sales tax to pay off our debt when it's not our debt. I mean, you got the whole system selling the same Kool-Aid, just with different flavors. And now I've confirmed, Adam, in Austin, in San Antonio, in Colorado, all over the country, they are coming over and saying, you get your Ron Paul thing out of here, and literally going like this. So now, maybe 3 weeks ago it wasn't co-opted, but now it is no doubt a bunch of dangerous rabble. That doesn't mean everybody is, but those getting the attention, those leading it, they're after one group, and that's after libertarians, constitutionalists.
Well, Alex, as amazing as your job of analyzing this has been, and I've been going to Infowars.com for a lot of my background on this, for getting a sense of what's going on in the larger national scene, I think the one thing that most people are still missing is that it's not just being co-opted. You can't even say that a few weeks ago it was something legitimately beautiful, grassroots freedom fighting. It was always, from the beginning, it was this fundamental rage. I mean, this is what the protesters have been saying. It is their rage, and it is a rage that is coming from resentment of success, that is coming from liberalism. And like you said, they're calling for an October Revolution style thing. But you know what? The October Revolution actually had a huge one-up on what's going on in America today, because most of the people in the streets aren't willing to face up to the fact that it is their Messiah. It is the one that they voted for. It is Barack Obama, who is responsible for those who they say in the 1%.
Exactly. At least the Bolsheviks were going after the czars, which was another form of tyranny. In this case, they're just milling around thinking Obama's going to save them from Wall Street when he's represented by the corrupt elements. And you're absolutely right, Adam. It is disgusting to hate success. A top race car driver, a top painter, a top computer programmer, somebody like, Steve Jobs, who actually did develop things. You can get, criticize the Chinese slave labor. It is, you're right, it's this anger at people who have done well in life, and it's really scary. Do you agree with Rand Paul, then, that this, from what you've seen in D.C. and New York, does have a true French Revolution flavor rather than a 1776 flavor?
Absolutely. Now, I'm not going to try to make the historical comparisons. I'm not an expert, but what this is doing is separating us from the real divide, the real philosophical divide in this country and this world when it comes to matters of government and power and control, which is that it's not about those who benefit the most from the corrupt, evil system. It's the corrupt, evil system itself. And it doesn't exist because banksters sponsor it, because corporations corrupt it. It exists because there are people like those in the street at Occupy Wall Street right now. There are people like in the street in Occupy DC and all over the country. Now, there are some libertarian pockets. There are some libertarians who are out there doing great work. You have Occupy the Fed in Dallas. And in Minnesota, there's a slightly different kind of occupation going on that really is libertarian driven. But it is between people like these in the streets who really make up the bulk and the driving force of this movement, who want government to solve problems, who want to mooch off of others.
Exactly, and then all that does is creates a bigger vacuum for the foreign banks to suck up our wealth. These idiots don't get it. Big government doesn't work. All it does is gang rape you. Adam-kokesh, I want to talk about more of what you've seen from these people on the streets, because I mean, there's no doubt now they're calling for an October-style revolution, and they want me to basically be their slave, I guess, and work in some slave pit for them in the near future. But we only got like 5 minutes left. Adam, I mean, I really get what you're saying here. I tried to be friendly with these people, at least the leaders of it. They claim there's no leaders. That's a lie. It's Democratic operatives. They don't want that to be known, though. Now they admit it's come out in internal documents. This is the Obama re-election strategy. The Federal Reserve has endorsed them. I mean, what more do we need to know? These are people begging the government for something, which is fundamentally the wrong answer. Big government has gotten us into this position. Now, you've been down amongst these people, and bottom line, who leads them, who directs them, what other authoritarian stuff have you heard them say?
Well, remember, like with the Tea Party, in order for it to be co-optable by the Republican Party, there had to be some kind of connection there. So in order for this thing to be co-optable by these left forces, it has to be fundamentally left-leaning at its core. And there are a lot of people there who are really just being led, real sheep, who are getting into these group call and repeat general assemblies, this consensus decision making, and in these things. And I've actually been involved in some meetings like this, and it's an interesting organizing technique, but it doesn't work for things like this except to make it vulnerable to anybody who wants to co-opt them. And that's really kind of the dangerous thing about this, is that anybody who can get in there and take charge and stand up with the loudest voice and sort of run the equivalent of their parliamentary process can really take charge and really co-opt it and move it in their direction. But I want to direct people to another video that I put out, because you've been mentioning the one where I'm blocked from filming this event in D.C. and their disregard for the First Amendment, fundamentally, when they disagree with someone exercising their First Amendment rights, is really disgraceful. But a lot of the followers, and you're not going to win over the heart of this movement. We're not going to do it with the message of liberty. We're not going to get it out by going out and shaking hands or
No. Now they're saying you can have your union signs, you can call for socialism. Do not bring in the Fed or Ron Paul. That is the cross to them. I mean, and that tells you everything you need to know about these folks.
Well, that's coming from the leadership. And the thing is, a lot of the people that are there that are just showing up that really don't know better are going along with that. But a good chunk of them are very, very easily won over. Now, this is still a very small part of the population. Remember, this is, I've heard the biggest number I've heard at all out of the whole thing was 20,000 people in New York, which is significant. But really, on a regular basis, it's a couple of thousand here and there. Nationally.
Yeah, see how the mainstream media is giving them massive attention. That's another big tip-off.
Right. Well, it is an interesting conversation. It's an important conversation. This is why I'm talking about it, because there are a lot of people there who are just kind of going along to get along, following along, but who are genuinely angry and upset with the state of the economy and the state of the country and the exploitation, and they haven't quite put the pieces together yet. There's another video on my YouTube channel called Surprise, You Might Be a Ron Paul Supporter. And it's relatively easy to convince some of these people to be won over. But the driving force behind it never will be won over. It is fundamentally anti-freedom. It is vitriolic. It is being run by people who think they can use the government to force their will on others. That's what a lot of my videos have exposed. So I do want to encourage Ron Paul supporters to get out there if they want, because it's an opportunity for outreach. But please do not mistake it for an opportunity to be a part of something, because no matter what comes out of this, you will not be happy with the outcome. It will be more government control. As you said, Alex, it's about increasing the control of government over the economy. It's about feeding into the plans for globalism. It's about getting rid of all of those individual protections that are supposed to be important in the United States. When they chant, "Tell me what democracy looks like," it's because they are fundamentally opposed to the idea of a republic which safeguards individual liberty. They want mob rule.
Yeah, for those that don't know, as Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin said in different permutations, democracy's two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. And for folks that are drinking fluoride and don't understand what that means, two wolves are going to vote to eat the sheep. In a republic, the sheep is protected from the wolves, even if they both vote to eat the sheep. And that's what's so fundamentally dangerous about, especially the D.C. folks. You know, the Occupy Wall Street people in Houston were pretty good. The ones in Dallas, said, "We're not coming to you in the Fed thing." In San Antonio, they were outright saying we're the enemy. So it's just pure idiocy, and I really feel sorry for him. Adam, I want to continue to talk to you in the next week or two as this unfolds. But when the Federal Reserve endorses it, you better believe we know it's bad. Adam-kokesh, thank you for joining us.
And keep doing the good work. You're reaching far more people than these protests are.
Well, I mean, that is another issue. So are you. The establishment's hyping these up while ignoring our In the Fed demonstrations over the last, decades. It's just incredible. Adam Kokesh, thank you. Lord